Hello, Al members. I am thrilled to announce this month's Inside the Al Studio will feature Alcon, who has been a longtime supporter of Al as a partner sponsor, as well as premier sponsor at our signature events. We have been equally fortunate to have the support of many individuals from Alcon who have stepped up to volunteer their time with Al on our committees, our board of directors, and also as mentors to rising leaders through the Al Fellows program. Without further delay, I'm excited to introduce today's interviewee, Jeannette Bankus, President and General Manager of the Global Surgical Franchise at Alcon. Welcome to the Inside the Al Studio, Jeannette.
Thank you, Abby. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So Jeannette, we had the pleasure of interviewing Kristen Brotherson of Alcon last year. And in fact, she was our very first interviewee for Inside the Al Studio series. She highlighted the many diversity initiatives at Alcon, including having a chief diversity officer to focus on DEI efforts, increased collaboration between leadership and team members, having employee research groups such as ACE and WIN, a group for working parents, the Open Group, which Al has worked with now on 2 programs, one around being out in eye care, and our most recent interview with transgender retina surgeon, Dr. Vivian Howe. So today, I think we want to get a little bit more specific and really focus on looking at advancing women in leadership and your personal efforts and Alcon's efforts in this area. So I'm going to quit talking and hand this over to you.
Good, great. Thank you, Abby. I think you, number one, Kristen is quite the unicorn. I think all of us think that of her. She leads by example. And so as you think about, and I have a deep passion for diversity and inclusion, talent development, I'll call it, across ethnicity, geography, gender. It's part of what I guess I was placed in industry to do. While I may be a scientist by training, the passion that comes every day is the ability to take talent and develop them to the path that they choose to want to achieve. And so you talked about a lot of the resources that Alcon's put in place. It's great to put resources. It's great to have methodology and processes. But are you really putting those tools and investments to work? I'm going to tell you, we're taking it to a next level. It's like maturity. Most of us have children. Watching it grow and develop over time is more rewarding than any of us could have imagined. So I'll kind of tweak about internal, and then I'll give a challenge about external, and how do we as industry friends and family help the entire industry progress in this perspective. So internally, we've taken it to the next level, and I would ask my industry peers to think about this. Do you really lean in and have a pointed effort? You might put resources in place, but are you really identifying key talent that you can think within a D&I lens that can take on additional responsibility and leadership opportunities at the company? We're doing that. We're placing females, males, minorities into positions that would allow them to learn and grow in a safe manner. So we're putting ourselves to work internally. We executed on a program you might have seen on social media called Blue. And it's an advanced leadership development program where I'm proud to say more than 50% of the participants were female around the world, which may not have been the historical perspective from Alcon. So we're actually developing internal talent. Now take an external lens. As an industry, we need to continue to collectively, this isn't a competitive landscape at that point. Are we truly helping the industry develop both physicians and industry representatives that are diverse? And the greater that we can come together collectively, the more impact we can have. And I think I'll give a shout out to the ASCRS Foundation, Jim Mazo, some of my peers, Warren, and at J&J, JAG, all the people we work with. We really are starting to look at panel representation, both from an industry and physician perspective, and saying, are we having diverse perspective at these society meetings and on clinical trials, et cetera? So I think there's progress being made both at Alcon, but as an industry in whole.
That's amazing. And I think, Jeannette, from taking this a little bit more on a personal level for you, do you have an example for our audience of a specific mentor situation or someone that you feel has helped you along the way? I think it's important, or maybe even a challenge that you've had as a female in this particular industry, just to give some flavor to that for the audience.
Absolutely. I've had the pleasure of having many mentors and advocates. I'll talk about advocacy. We smile when we say Michael Onishek's name. While he's no longer working professionally in the ophthalmic space, he's still a very, very strong mentor to me. I've had several at both Boston Scientific and even internally, David Endicott. He personally mentors me. He has a vested interest in seeing diverse talent, both Kristen and myself, be mentored to be able to take on more complex roles at the company. And so that pay forward mentality that many people in my career have had for me has been instrumental. And it's not without strong shoulders. You have to be ready and willing to take on some of the critical feedback, how to be successful in the next role, and the vulnerability about learning new skills and or business acumen if that's not your background. And so I've had the pleasure of having many, many mentors in my career. But I think the strongest thing that I'm focused on, because I'm a mentor to many, when I first came into Alcon, I looked across the organization and looked for diverse talent that I actually proactively said, can I mentor you? And I think they were a little surprised. I'm a president of the company, but I care about their success. If you have a foundational mindset that their success is your success, you're the right leader. You have the right leadership competency. But as I think about advocacy, the other challenge I'll challenge all of us, you're a leader as well in the industry, is are we really having larger or louder voices when you're talking about talent development in your company? And are you not just sitting there and saying, well, there's a gap they have, they may not have technical acumen, their presentation skills or communication may not be as strong as we need it? Are you really putting action to the words? And so as we think about talent development internally at Alcon, I'm the first to look at succession planning charts and saying, okay, wait a second, let me put my D&I lens on. Do we have ready now candidates? And if they're not ready now, how are we getting them ready now for the next level of leadership? So instead of just thinking it, you're actioning your words and putting development plans around candidates that you would benefit in leadership positions at your company.
That's awesome. And I think that's a long-term vision. What we're seeing a lot of D&I is, it's not just today, but it's in the future, and being very consistent in your planning. So I love to hear that. One question I have, and this is something that always, it may be somewhat controversial, is, women advocating for other women.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned your mentors, two of them being male.
Mm-hmm.
My primary mentor, or someone that's really helped me along, was also a male.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just like to get your maybe insight on how women can do a better job, or really help each other out a little bit more in our industry. If you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's interesting because at our point in our career, there may be more men above us, and statistically, our mentors are mainly male counterparts or bosses, because that's what the boardroom makeup was. I would tell you that you need to be purposeful. There's, women can be most critical on other women, and I'll be hard on saying that, but that is the truth as we've navigated our careers. I've seen more energy, and think about our call point, the physicians that we partner with. The majority of new practitioners coming into ophthalmology are female. So the numbers now outweigh the men. So there's no excuses. I'm going to be hard on us. But even the women that are in leadership positions, I think about you. I think about some of my partners across the industry that reach out to me. It isn't a competition. And when we make it a competition, we're only being less effective for the female partners around us. And so my earlier comment around taking 5 females in the company and being mentors, Kristen Brotherson, you mentioned, I don't think she ever saw anybody like me up at the leadership level. So seeing someone that she can look to and say, well, they're kind of like me, whether it be gender, leadership style, etc. You're first setting example. And then number 2, you're truly, I think about Bindu. We all know Bindu in the industry. I mentor her. She's not at Alcon. I probably have 3 or 4 females outside of Alcon that I care about their success as an industry partner, not just an Alcon employee. So I would encourage us that it takes numbers, and it'll take a lot of energy and passion to grab 4 or 5 diverse individuals and be able to mentor them. Even on the physician level, I think about Dr. Liz Yu, Kathy McCabe. Kathy McCabe is a mentor to me. I think she'd probably laugh when she says that, because she's as inspired by me as I am her. Just having that collective group. We have a women's group that we get together with, both Al. I thank Al. Al brings us all together. So think about when you stand at one of these receptions and look to your left and right. And don't just go to the table of the 3 or 4 women that you know. You reach out and look for the other 10 you don't know, and have boldness, have courage. Go over and talk to them. A lot of the people, just because of the level I sit at Alcon, will know who I am, but I want to know who they are. Have the courage to reach out to me and tell me you need help from me. I'm willing and able. And the more that we can actually support a system like that, the more you're going to see diverse representation in the future in ophthalmology.
I love to hear that, Jeanette. And I think that's a good place to end the interview. Thank you so much, Jeanette. I just wanted to reiterate how much you and the Alcon organization has done in the area of DNI and for OWL. Without your support, this organization wouldn't be as successful as it is and continues to be moving forward. So thank you very much. And now we can move on to the fun questions.
One comment, Abby, I want to say
Yeah.
is you don't have to thank Alcon. Your partnership and your leadership is as critically important globally as what ours is. We may be the manufacturer that puts out novel products, and we're one of the leaders in ophthalmology. But without an organization like OWL, how effective are we? We're a products company. We're a solutions company. You actually connect all of us. So you're the connection to all of us. So our gratitude's back to you. We couldn't do this without you as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Jeanette. All right. What is your favorite word in eye care?
Well, I'm going to be a little vulnerable and fun at the same time. And you'll say, well, that's a little boring, Jeanette. Actually, ophthalmology is my favorite word. And the reason I say that is if you really get to know who I am, I'm fun by nature. The spelling of it, most of us spell it wrong when we first come into industry. I put my first post coming into ophthalmology on LinkedIn, and I spelled the word wrong. And somebody politely told me on LinkedIn, it has a PH and a TH, Jeanette. If you're going to join this industry from a different a space, you better know how to spell it. But I think about the core of the Greek nature of it. It is the eye. While it's a complex, I'll call it a fun word, it really is at the root of everything that we do. And if when you say I'm part of ophthalmology, does it not bring a smile to your face, a passion in the belly, and a sense of belonging and family? So while you may say, but that's our root word, Jeanette, it is everything that we are. We're complex, we're fun, we have a little bit of mystery in the way we pronounce it and spell it. But at the end of the day, we all figure it out, and there's some sort of synergy and connection to it.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. And on the flip side of that, what is your least favorite word?
I'll go to my technical side. I hate the word diabetes. I hate the fact that most people in ophthalmology, the patients in particular, don't realize I have a history of diabetes in my family, how scarring it is to the eye. We educate diabetics on all the things that could go wrong. Their sugars, they're annually, they're testing their daily sugars. But at the end of the day, do they realize the impact that they're and the scarring they're doing by not having it in control or being a diabetic, whether it's type 1 at birth or type 2 through maturity and aging? It's one I don't like. We know diabetic retinopathy. We know the scarring and due to the organ, but do we really know? Does the average patient know? And so because my dad is diabetic, I'm probably the worst critic of him on controlling his sugars, because the last thing I want him to not see is my face or my beautiful children's faces on a daily basis. And that's what's at stake.
Yeah, agreed. Is there a professional role within the eye care industry that you would like to attempt, and why, other than what you're doing currently?
Well, having a privilege at Alcon of sitting in a leadership seat, you now no longer, as you go up in your career, it's internal focus, internal focus. And when I say internal focus, it's still physician-patient focused. But as you start to get to my level, it's your responsibility and pleasure. I'll call it pleasure accountability to be helping the world. I'm very active in domestic, ASCRS, OWL. While global in nature, I now in 22 and 23 need to take on a more proactive approach to international societies. We're not just a domestic issue. Blindness and eyesight and eye care around the world is critically important. So I think I have a responsibility and accountability to take a more effective leadership role, whether it be board membership, participation in APAC societies, and international European societies. So I do aspire to do that. It is my responsibility to do that, and so I'm looking forward to putting that as one of my goals in latter part of 22 and early 23.
Awesome, awesome, good to hear. Is there a role within our eye care industry that you would not like to attempt?
That's a hard question. My background. I've probably done almost every function in a company. I'm very diverse by nature. The only thing I could thread the needle on is if the moment you took away and you put me in a position, whatever that be, and even our legal team at Alcon interfaces with patients, docs, but if you told me, Jeannette, tomorrow you wake up and you're taking a role that doesn't allow me to partner with a physician or see the impact of what we bring to a patient on a daily basis, not going in my job title. I'm telling you that right now. I'm a high energy, passionate individual. And the reason I am is because I love those two things, whether it be medical affairs, clinical, the commercial teams, myself as a president. I think I get up every day like excited about the physician industry with our partnerships and the patient impact. I'm in ORs in the world somewhere on a quarterly basis. Call it fundamentally back to day one as a sales rep. I want to see our products in use. So just don't ever put me in a role in industry that doesn't let me do those two things. If you do, you just took the air out of my tire or the passion out of my heart.
Good to know. No, I agree. So I think this whole interview, the next question I'm going to ask you, you kind of already answered this in several ways, but if there's one thing that you could do to contribute to diverse leadership in eye care, what would it be?
As I'm thinking about this interview, you always self-evaluate, are you doing enough? Okay, I put my mark on Alcon. You guys are hearing it, you're seeing it, you're feeling it, but am I doing enough for industry? Um, is there a forum by which we can step up and create an environment? Now, some of the societies are doing it, but am I
Mhm.
playing a larger role? While I'm not the only individual that contribute to that, could I make sure that whether it be on panels, societies, and or a venue by which we bring, I'll call it the Unicorn Club, diverse candidates in a safe forum to be able to be mentored and developed? I think I could be doing more. I'll be self-critical. I do a lot at Alcon, but I've also been here 3.5 years. To the earlier comment on society engagement with APAC and international, how do I lift the entire industry? Because I do put that weight on my shoulders.
Well, Jeannette, we are behind you 100%. And I know you're amazing as is, but I know it's going to continue and be even stronger for our industry. Now, I have a last question for you. This is a fun one.
Okay.
If you had a superpower,
Mhm.
what would it be? Yeah.
Oh, that's a hard one.
Mhm.
Superpower. I don't want to fly. I don't think we can fly. Let me think about a superpower. I would want to, I don't want to predict the future because sometimes you don't want to see the future. I think that I would actually give myself more time in a day. So back to my earlier comments, if I could delay time, pause it in motion, that I could get more accomplished with my energy, and 24 hours became actually 48 hours, I would slow down time, freeze it, and allow ourselves to accomplish more because we have so much in favor of what we're doing. So I'm a time capsule freeze. That's my superpower. I get to predict and or I will say put the wand out and I freeze time to be able to accomplish more so that we truly can cure blindness. But innovation takes longer than my patience allow. So I'm going to freeze time to gain time.
I love that. And that's one of the smartest answers we've had. So that's amazing. All right. I think that wraps it up for us today inside the Al Studio. Jeannette, thank you again for your time and Alcon support.
Thanks. Such a pleasure.